For today's meditation, we are reading from the book of Judges, chapter 9, verses 42 to 45. On the following day, the people went out into the field, and Abimelech was told. He took his people and divided them into 3 companies and set an ambush in the fields. He looked and saw the people coming out of the city, so he rose against them and killed them. Abimelech and the company that was with him rushed forward and stood at the entrance of the gate of the city, while the 2 companies rushed upon all who were in the field and killed them. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day. He captured the city and killed the people who were in it, and he razed the city and sowed it with salt. Again, reading from verse 50. Then Abimelech went to Thebez and encamped against Thebez and captured it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and all the men and women and all the leaders of the city fled to it and shut themselves in. And they went up to the roof of the tower, and Abimelech came to the tower and fought against it and drew near to the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman threw an upper millstone on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. Then he called quickly to the young man, his armor-bearer, and said to him, "Draw your sword and kill me, lest they say of me, a woman killed him." And his young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, everyone departed to his home. Thus God returned the evil of Abimelech, which he committed against his father in killing his 70 brothers. And God also made all the evil of the men of Shechem return on their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. Sometimes when we read through a narrative in the scriptures, we may wonder the appropriateness of adding it in the divine revelation. Often details are long-winded and on the surface unconnected to the general history of the people of God. Yet God uses those certain incidents to let us have a glimpse of his character. One cannot get away by doing evil, by conspiring and killing one's opponent. Justice will catch up with you one day. Gideon had many wives, and they produced 70 sons. He had yet another son, Abimelech, who was born to him by his concubine. It was this man's desire to rule as king because he was a son of Jerubbaal. Abimelech went to Shechem, his mother's hometown, and he appealed to his relatives for their support. He asked them to use their influence with the city leaders to appoint him as the king, reasoning that it was better to have one king than 70, and especially one who was well connected in Shechem. Surely they would receive preferential treatment from Abimelech, more so than from others, sons of Jerubbaal, whose loyalties would lie more with the people of Ophrah and Manasseh where they lived. The leaders of Shechem were persuaded by Abimelech's relatives, but they realized that this meant his brothers would have to be eliminated. They conspired and killed all of Gideon's sons, except Jotham. When Jotham learned that Abimelech had been appointed as king, he stood on Mount Gerizim and called the people of the city to account through a parable. His message to the people of Shechem was that God would bring his judgment upon them and upon Abimelech for the evil they had committed in killing the sons of Jerubbaal, who had risked his life to deliver Israel from the Midianites and assume the role of a king over Shechem and a handful of surrounding cities. We see how God providentially worked through wicked men to bring about judgment upon Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem. First, disunity arose between Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem, so that the leaders of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech. This returned the violence done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal on Abimelech's head. Their blood was on their brother Abimelech, for he had killed them, and on the men of Shechem who strengthened his hands to kill his brothers. The description tells us how the people of Shechem were justly repaid through Abimelech himself. We also see how God can use feeble tools to bring the downfall of the mighty. Our text teaches that choosing the wrong leader and putting our trust in him have disastrous effects. The people of Shechem put their trust in Abimelech rather than in God. And later they put their trust in Gaal rather than God. Gaal did not save them, for he simply ran his life and that was unable to lead. Abimelech cared little for the people of Shechem, whether they were relatives or not. He chose to dwell in another town, seldom making an appearance in Shechem. When his authority was challenged, he became a bitter and vengeful foe. He killed everyone in Shechem. Abimelech is like Satan in this regard. He promises to provide protection and blessings for all those who submit to him. But once men are under his power, he becomes an oppressive tyrant. He does not save or deliver. He keeps men in bondage. He does not protect life. He is a destroyer. He does not keep his promises, for he is a liar. And yet many fall prey to him because they believe his seductive lies. How different is our Lord's leadership from that of Abimelech and Satan? Abimelech gained his leadership position by killing his brothers. Jesus gained his position by laying down his life for his brothers. Abimelech's leadership style was cruel and oppressive. Our Lord described his leadership role in very different terms. Come to me, all of you who weary and heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke on you and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart. And you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear and my load is not hard to carry. Matthew 11:28-30. This text is an excellent demonstration of the fact that the Lord is known by the judgment he executes, such that the wicked are ensnared by the work of their own hands. God executes justice in such a way that the wicked get exactly what they deserve. And he is also able to protect those who are innocent from his judgment, as he did Lot. Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem perished for their treachery in the murder of Gideon's sons, who were Abimelech's rivals. The people of Thebez were spared because they had no part in this evil. It's a great encouragement to realize that God's timing and his work of deliverance and destruction are always done with great precision. There are no accidents in what God brings to pass. His ways are perfect. We should also take note that God's deliverance and judgment comes about providentially. That means the judgment that fell on the wicked and the deliverance of the innocent was accomplished through those who did not know or worship God. God used wicked people to accomplish his purposes. If someone were there and were looking on these events from outside, they would undoubtedly have perceived what happened as something entirely natural rather than providential intervention of God. They would have thought that all of this just happened. They would have been wrong. For the author makes it very clear to his readers that these things happen to fulfill God's purposes and his promises. We need not fret because of evildoers, for God will bring about justice in his time and in his ways. The psalmist reminds us in Psalms 37, verse 1, fret not yourself because of evildoers. Be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and befriend faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Let us not take refuge in man, whether they be close to us according to the flesh. Let us not be swayed by earthly considerations when we surrender our hearts to men. Let us delight ourselves in the love of God and devote ourselves to doing good. then no matter what happens around us, we'll be on the right side and God will do us justice. God bless.